1. We're taking a closer look at a classic beauty, the 1977 Chevrolet Malibu that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. The seller is asking $10,500 for this vintage ride, but they seem open to offers, so there might be some room for negotiation. Now let's dive into the details. According to the seller, this Malibu has just 36,000 original miles on the odometer, which is pretty impressive for a car that's over 4 decades old. It's equipped with a 305 V8 engine and an automatic transmission, which should provide a smooth and powerful driving experience. The seller also mentions that the interior is in pristine condition, almost like new. That's a big plus, considering the age of the vehicle. They've also installed an alarm system and a new carburetor, which shows that they've put some work into maintaining and upgrading the car. The ad states that the Malibu runs and drives like new, which is encouraging. However, it's always a good idea to take a closer look and maybe even bring a mechanic along to inspect the car before making a final decision. One thing to keep in mind is that the seller hasn't provided a ton of details about the exterior condition of the car. While the interior is said to be in great shape, we don't know if there are any dings, rust, or other issues with the body. It's definitely worth asking for more photos or information if you're seriously interested. Overall, this 1977 Chevrolet Malibu Classic seems like a solid classic car with low mileage and some nice features. The price might be a bit steep for some buyers, but if it's truly in great condition, it could be a worthwhile investment for the right collector or enthusiast. As always, do your due diligence, ask questions, and make sure you're comfortable with the car before making any decisions. 2. We've got a real treat for you. A 1978 Chrysler LeBaron that's been hiding away for nearly a quarter century. This beauty has just emerged from its 24-year slumber and is now ready to hit the road once again. The seller is asking $9,500 for this vintage sedan, and based on the description, it seems like it could be a fantastic deal. First off, the car has just 25,000 original miles on the odometer. That's right, you read that correctly. 25,000 miles. It's incredibly rare to find a classic car with such low mileage, and it suggests that this LeBaron has been meticulously cared for over the years. According to the seller, the car is in excellent condition and is virtually untouched, aside from some recent maintenance work. They've installed a new battery, water pump, and have given the car a complete tune-up, including a new distributor cap, rotor, and wires. All the fluids and filters have been changed, and the car has been fitted with new belts, a new carburetor, new tires, and a complete brake system overhaul. Oh, and did we mention there's no rust? That's a huge bonus for any classic car. The LeBaron is powered by Chrysler's famous Slant 6 engine, which is known for its reliability and durability. The seller mentions that the car starts and runs like a true luxury vehicle should, which is exactly what you'd expect from a well-maintained LeBaron. Now it's important to note that the car is being sold as is due to its age. While the seller has done a lot of work to get it back on the road, it's still a 47-year-old vehicle. The original paint has a few minor imperfections, but that's to be expected for a car of this age. If you're interested in this gorgeous 1978 Chrysler LeBaron, the seller is open to trades for other classic cars from the 50s, 60s, or 70s. They specifically mention interest in a 60s Mustang V8, a 50s Thunderbird, or even project cars. If you've got something to trade, be sure to send them a picture and your phone number to arrange a viewing. All in all, this low-mileage, well-maintained 1978 Chrysler LeBaron seems like an excellent opportunity for any classic car enthusiast. With a clean title in hand and a recent inspection, this beauty is ready to provide its new owner with plenty of nostalgic Sunday drives and turning heads wherever it goes. 3. We've got a real gem for you. A 1963 Studebaker Hawk Gran Turismo that's up for grabs on Craigslist. The seller is asking $9,950 for this vintage beauty, and from what we can see in the description, it might just be worth every penny. Under the hood, you'll find a 289 cubic inch V8 engine paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. The seller mentions that the car has less than 90,000 miles on the odometer, which is relatively low for a vehicle of this age. It's always a good sign when a classic car has been driven regularly, but not excessively. One of the standout features of this Hawk is the fact that it has working factory air conditioning. That's right, you can cruise in comfort even on hot summer days. The car also boasts power steering, making it easier to navigate and drive compared to some other classics from the era. Inside, you'll find red cloth seats that show some wear, which is to be expected in a car that's nearly 60 years old. The black and red carpeting throughout the interior adds to the vintage charm. The dashboard features a cool wood grain finish with a black padded top, giving it a touch of elegance. The seller notes that this Studebaker Hawk was a longtime California car, which is a big plus. Cars from dry states like California tend to have less rust and corrosion issues compared to those from wetter climates. The ad also mentions that the car is in drivable condition, so you can hop in and hit the road right away. As a bonus, the sale includes the original owner's guide and stereo manual, along with a reproduction dealer invoice. These extras add to the car's provenance and are sure to be appreciated by any Studebaker enthusiast. Now, it's important to keep in mind that this is a classic car, and it may have some quirks or imperfections. The seller doesn't go into great detail about any specific issues, so it's always a good idea to ask for more information and photos if you're seriously interested. You might also want to consider having a mechanic inspect the car before making a final decision. Overall, this 1963 Studebaker Hawk Gran Turismo seems like a solid classic car with some desirable features like the V8 engine, manual transmission, and working factory air conditioning. If you're in the market for a vintage family sports car with a clear title, this one might be worth a closer look. 4. We're taking a look at a 1966 Ford Galaxy convertible that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $5,000 for this vintage ride, and while it might not be in perfect condition, it could be a fun project for the right enthusiast. First off, let's talk about the good stuff. This Galaxy is a running, driving car, which means you can enjoy it right away. It's powered by a 390 cubic inch V8 engine and has an automatic transmission, so it should be a blast to cruise around in with the top down. The seller has owned this car for 14 years and has been working on it, but due to personal reasons, they're no longer able to continue the project. That's where you come in. If you're looking for a classic car to tinker with and improve, this could be a great opportunity. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The seller is upfront about the fact that the frame has some rust issues and that there's a fair amount of Bondo, body filler, on the car. This is definitely something to keep in mind, as rust can be a serious problem if left unchecked. You'll want to take a close look at the extent of the rust and consider the cost and effort required to address it. On the bright side, the seller is including a bunch of spare parts with the sale, including an extra 390 engine and transmission. Having these spare parts could come in handy if you plan on doing some serious work on the car, or if you need to replace any major components down the line. The car's yellow paint job is sure to turn heads, and the convertible top is perfect for those sunny weekend cruises. Just imagine rolling down the street in this classic 60s beauty with the wind in your hair. As with any classic car purchase, it's important to do your due diligence. Inspect the car thoroughly, ask the seller plenty of questions, and consider bringing along a mechanic or experienced friend to help you assess the vehicle's condition. Keep in mind that this Galaxy is being sold as is, so you'll be responsible for any repairs or upgrades it may need. In summary, this 1966 Ford Galaxy convertible could be a fun project car for someone who's willing to put in the work. It's got a strong V8 engine, a cool yellow paint job, and a bunch of spare parts included. Just be aware of the rust issues and the fact that it may need some TLC to get it into top shape. If you're up for the challenge and have been looking for a classic convertible to work on, this could be the one for you. 5. We've got a real treat for you, a 1966 Pontiac GTO that's looking for a new home. The seller is asking $14,500 for this classic beauty, and while it may need some work, it could be a fantastic project for the right buyer. Let's start with the heart of this beast. Under the hood, you'll find a Pontiac 400 engine, which is a big block V8 that's sure to get your heart racing. The engine is equipped with headers, a 4-barrel Edelbrock intake, and a Holley double pumper carburetor, which means this thing is built for performance. The seller mentions that the motor turns by hand, which is a good sign that it's not seized up. Backing up that powerful engine is a 4-speed manual transmission, which is exactly what you want in a classic muscle car like this. There's nothing quite like rowing through the gears in a vintage GTO. Now let's talk about the condition of the car. The seller notes that the frame is in good shape, which is a big plus. However, they do mention that the car will need some rust repair, specifically in the lower rear quarters and trunk pan. There's also some miscellaneous rust throughout the car, so you'll want to take a close look and assess the extent of the work needed. The ad doesn't provide a ton of details about the interior or other aspects of the car, so you'll definitely want to reach out to the seller and ask for more information and photos. It's always a good idea to see the car in person before making a decision, especially with a project like this. On the bright side, the seller has the keys and a clean title for the car, so you shouldn't have any issues with paperwork. They also mention that you'll need to bring cash, a trailer, and a smile when you come to pick up the car. That's good advice. Buying a classic car is always an exciting experience. Overall, this 1966 Pontiac GTO seems like a solid project car for someone who's willing to put in the work. It's got a strong engine, a manual transmission, and a good frame to build upon. Yes, it needs some rust repair and likely other updates, but that's part of the fun of owning a classic muscle car. If you're up for the challenge and have been looking for a vintage GTO to restore, this one might be worth checking out. Just be sure to do your homework, ask plenty of questions, and go in with your eyes wide open. 6. We've got a real gem for you. A rare 1970 Ford Thunderbird Landau that's up for grabs on Craigslist. The seller has reduced the price from $10,000 to a firm $7,500, and let me tell you, this car is loaded with features that make it a standout among vintage T-Birds. First off, let's talk about the rarity of this particular model. The Landau was a special edition Thunderbird that came with a host of luxury options, and this one has them all. The most notable feature is the sunroof, which is a factory-installed option that's hard to find on these cars. It's the perfect way to let in some fresh air and sunshine on those scenic drives. Under the hood, you'll find a beefy 429 Thunderjet V8 engine paired with a C6 automatic transmission. This combination should provide plenty of power and smooth shifting, making for a comfortable and enjoyable driving experience. The seller mentions that this T-Bird is a solid California car, which is a big plus. Cars from dry states like California tend to have less rust and corrosion issues compared to those from wetter climates. That being said, the seller does note that this car would be a great candidate for restoration, so it may have some areas that need attention. Inside, you'll find a luxurious interior with leather seats that have cloth inserts. The car also boasts power windows, power locks, electric rear defrost, and even cruise control, features that were cutting edge for the time. The air conditioning system is also present, which is a must-have for those hot summer cruises. The seller has recently given this Thunderbird some love, installing brand new tires with no miles on them, a new battery, and performing a full tune-up. They've also cleaned and repaired the fuel system, which is an important step in ensuring that the car runs smoothly. In summary, this loaded and rare 1970 Ford Thunderbird Landau with a factory sunroof seems like a great opportunity for classic car enthusiasts. With its powerful 429 engine, luxurious interior, and recent maintenance, it could be a fantastic cruiser or a solid base for a restoration project. If you've been searching for a unique and well-optioned vintage T-Bird, this one is definitely worth a closer look. 7. We've got a sweet ride for you, a 1980 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray that's been given some serious love and attention. The seller is asking $12,500 for this classic sports car, and based on the description, it seems like it could be a great deal for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about the heart of this beast. The original motor had some issues with a flat cam, but don't worry, the seller has installed a brand new dealer target 245 horsepower 4-bolt main motor. That's a significant upgrade from the factory 190 horsepower smog motor, so this Vetta should have some extra pep in its step. The seller mentions that the new motor has less than 200 miles on it, so it's basically just broken in. Backing up that new motor is a factory Turbo 400 automatic transmission, which should provide smooth and reliable shifts. The seller has also made some other notable upgrades, including a completely redone air conditioning system, a new starter, gas tank, fuel pump, and a brand new 4-row aluminum radiator to keep things cool. This Corvette was a special order back in the day, and it shows. It's got the desirable glass T-tops, rally rims, and a camel interior that pairs nicely with the yellow exterior. The seller mentions that it's not perfect, but it's a fun car to drive and should be a head-turner out on the road. One thing to note is that this Corvette has 85,000 miles on the odometer. While that's not crazy high for a car that's over 40 years old, it's something to keep in mind. The seller does mention that they have receipts for the work that's been done, which is always a good sign. If you're interested in this 1980 Corvette, the seller is willing to let you watch it go through a smog test to prove that it's legal and ready to hit the road. They're selling it to make room for their dream 1960 Corvette, the year they were born. So you know they're a true enthusiast. As with any classic car purchase, it's always a good idea to see the car in person, take it for a test drive, and have it inspected by a mechanic or someone knowledgeable about Corvettes. While the seller has made some great upgrades, there may be some other areas that need attention on a car of this age. Overall, this 1980 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray seems like a solid classic sports car with some desirable features and recent upgrades. The new motor, transmission, and other improvements should make it a blast to drive, and the special order options like the glass T-tops and rally rims add to its appeal. If you've been looking for a vintage Corvette to cruise around in, this one might be worth checking out. 8. We've got a real treat for you. A 1969 Buick GS400 that's just begging for some love and attention. This classic beauty has been sitting in storage for a while, just waiting for the right person to come along and give it a new lease on life. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This car isn't in perfect condition. The current owners, Russ and Dan, bought it from the original owner, who mentioned some issues with the valve train and valve cover that kept the car from moving forward. But hey, that's just part of the charm of owning a classic car, right? The paint job is pretty old and was actually wet in the picture, so keep that in mind. But the good news is that the car rolls easy, so it's definitely an ambitious project for someone who's up for a challenge. And let's talk about that price, just $6,900. I mean, where else are you going to find a 1969 Buick GS400 for that kind of money? It's a steal, if you ask me. Now, the sellers did mention that they won't be negotiating until after New Year's, so if you're serious about this car, make sure you've got the full $6,900 ready to go. And if you're feeling a little grumpy, well, maybe this isn't the car for you. But I'd encourage you to take a deep breath and think about the possibilities. Imagine cruising down the street in this classic Buick, turning heads everywhere you go. With a little bit of elbow grease and some TLC, this car could be a real showstopper. So what are you waiting for? If you're ready to take on a new project and give this 1969 Buick GS400 the love it deserves, don't hesitate. Reach out to Russ and Dan and make an offer. Who knows? This could be the start of a beautiful friendship between you and your new classic car. 9. We've got a real gem for you. A 1970 Ford Ranchero that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This classic pickup is a real beauty with its sleek white paint job and stylish interior. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 351 Cleveland engine with an Edelbrock 4-barrel manifold and a brand new Holley 600 carburetor. That means plenty of power and performance, whether you're cruising down the highway or hitting the back roads. But that's not all. This Ranchero also comes with factory air conditioning and front disc brakes, making it a comfortable and safe ride no matter where you're headed. And just take a look at that interior. It's in great shape and looks like it's been well maintained over the years. Now, I do want to be upfront with you. The seller does mention that there is some rust on the body, but honestly, that's to be expected with a classic car like this, and it doesn't take away from the overall look and feel of the vehicle. In fact, I think it adds to its character and charm. One of the coolest features of this Ranchero is the new Boyd wheels and tires, which give it a really modern and stylish look. But if you prefer a more classic appearance, don't worry. The seller is also including the factory 14-inch wheels and hubcaps, so you can switch them out whenever you want. Now let's talk about the price. At $15,000, this Ranchero is definitely an investment, but I truly believe it's worth every penny. You're not just buying a car, you're buying a piece of automotive history, a vehicle that's sure to appreciate in value over time. So, if you're looking for a classic pickup that's got style, power, and plenty of character, this 1970 Ford Ranchero is definitely worth checking out. Don't hesitate. Give the seller a call and schedule a test drive today. Who knows? This could be the start of a lifelong love affair with one of the coolest cars on the road. 10. I got a treat for you today, a stunning 1981 Chevy Corvette that's sure to make your heart race. This classic beauty is in excellent condition with just 89,403 miles on the odometer. That's right, you heard me correctly. Under 90,000 miles on a car that's over 40 years old. It's clear that this Corvette has been well loved and cared for throughout its life. Let's start with the exterior. The black paint job is absolutely gorgeous and the T-tops just add to the cool factor. Imagine cruising down the highway with the wind in your hair and the sun on your face. It doesn't get much better than that. Inside, you'll find a luxurious leather interior that's in great shape. The seats are comfortable and supportive, and the dashboard is clean and well maintained. You'll feel like a true VIP every time you slide behind the wheel. Under the hood, this Corvette is packing some serious power. With an 8-cylinder engine and rear-wheel drive, you'll have plenty of oomph to get up and go whenever you need it. And with an automatic transmission, driving this car is a breeze, even if you're not used to a manual shift. Now, I do want to mention one small thing. The seller notes that the car needs a smog pump in order to pass a smog test. But honestly, that's a relatively minor issue in the grand scheme of things. If you're handy with a wrench, you might even be able to install the pump yourself. And can we talk about the price for a second? At just $13,900 cash, this Corvette is an absolute steal. You'd be hard-pressed to find another classic car in this condition for anywhere near that price. So if you've been dreaming of owning a piece of American automotive history, this is your chance. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. But if everything checks out, I say go for it. Life is too short to drive boring cars, and this 1981 Chevy Corvette is anything but boring. So what are you waiting for? Pick up the phone and give the seller a call today. And if you do end up taking this beauty home, be sure to send me some pictures. I'd love to see it out on the open road where it belongs. 11. Do I have a classic beauty for you today? A 1968 Ford Mustang that's just begging for a new owner to take it out on the open road. First things first, let's talk about what's under the hood. This Mustang is packing a 289 V8 C-Code engine, which means plenty of power and performance. And with a C4 automatic transmission, driving this car is a breeze, even if you're not used to a manual shift. Now, I do want to be upfront about a couple of things. The seller mentions that the carburetor needs to be rebuilt, and the car has been sitting for a few months, so it may need a little bit of TLC to get it running like new again. But hey, that's part of the fun of owning a classic car, right? The good news is that this Mustang has no rust, which is a huge plus for a car of this age. And while it's been repainted once, it was originally a beautiful Highland green color. I don't know about you, but I think that color just screams classic Mustang. Another great thing about this car is that it has all its original panels and has never been in an accident. That means you're getting a true piece of automotive history, not some cobbled-together Frankenstein of a car. And can we talk about the price for a second? At just $9,800, this Mustang is an absolute steal. Sure, it may need a little bit of work to get it in tip-top shape, but that's a small price to pay for a car with this much character and style. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. But if everything checks out, I say go for it. Imagine cruising down the highway in this classic Mustang, feeling the wind in your hair and the rumble of that V8 engine beneath you. It's the stuff that car dreams are made of. So if you've been looking for a project car that's got plenty of potential, this 1968 Ford Mustang might just be the one for you. Give the seller a call and schedule a test drive. Who knows? You might just fall in love with this classic beauty. 12. Have I got a unique find for you today? A 1962 Studebaker Champ pickup truck that's been given some serious upgrades under the hood. First off, let's talk about that engine. The original Studebaker engine has been swapped out for a Ford 289 V8, which means plenty of power and performance. And with custom headers and an Edelbrock quad carburetor, this truck is ready to rumble. But the upgrades don't stop there. This Champ also has power steering and power brakes, making it a breeze to drive even if you're not used to classic trucks. And with an automatic transmission, you don't have to worry about shifting gears while you're cruising down the highway. Inside, you'll find an Alpine sound system that's sure to keep you entertained on long drives. And with a clean title and just 51,000 miles on the odometer, this truck has plenty of life left in it. Now, I do want to be upfront about a few things. The seller mentions that the truck has some scratches, which is to be expected for a vehicle that's been used as a daily driver. There's also a small oil leak that appears to be coming from the valve cover gasket, but that's a relatively easy fix for anyone with some basic mechanical skills. The passenger window also needs to be replaced, but the seller is including 2 replacement windows with the sale. And while there are a couple of other minor issues, nothing seems too major or expensive to fix. As for the price, $13,000 might seem a bit steep for a pickup truck from the 60s. But when you consider all the upgrades and the rarity of a Studebaker Champ, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. These trucks are getting harder and harder to find, especially in good condition with a clean title. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. But if everything checks out, I say go for it. Imagine rolling up to your local car show in this beautiful blue Champ, turning heads and starting conversations wherever you go. So if you're in the market for a classic pickup with some serious personality, this 1962 Studebaker Champ might just be the truck for you. Give the seller a call and schedule a test drive. Who knows? You might just fall in love with this unique piece of automotive history. 13. I've got a real treat for you. A 1974 Ford Pinto that's in absolutely incredible condition. Seriously, this thing is like a time capsule on wheels. First off, let's talk about the history of this car. It's a one-owner vehicle that's been in California its entire life, which means no rust or corrosion issues whatsoever. And with just 50,000 original miles on the odometer, it's clear that this Pinto has been very well cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find the original 4-cylinder engine and automatic transmission, both of which are in great working order. This car is a daily driver, so you know it's reliable and ready to hit the road whenever you are. But the real selling point of this Pinto is its condition. The seller describes it as a beautiful time capsule, and I have to agree. The blue plate and clean California title just add to the car's provenance, and the fact that it's been garage kept all its life is a testament to how well it's been maintained. Inside, you'll find that everything works as it should, including the air conditioning and heater. And if you're the kind of person who likes to tinker with cars, you'll be happy to know that there are lots of extra parts included in the trunk, all of which are brand new. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $8,000 is a lot of money for a Ford Pinto. But hear me out. This is a rare opportunity to own a piece of automotive history that's in truly exceptional condition. These cars are getting harder and harder to find, especially in such great shape. Plus, think about the gas savings. The Pinto is known for being an excellent fuel-efficient vehicle, which means you'll be saving money at the pump while cruising around in style. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this Pinto looks like the real deal. So if you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go, this 1974 Ford Pinto might just be the one for you. The seller is asking for serious buyers only. So if you're ready to make this car yours, don't hesitate to reach out and schedule a test drive. Who knows, you might just fall in love with this beautiful time capsule on wheels. 14. I got a gem for you today. A a 1962 Buick LeSabre that's undergone a near-complete restoration. This beauty is a true testament to the craftsmanship and style of the early 60s, and it's looking for a new owner who will appreciate all the hard work that's gone into bringing it back to life. First off, let's talk about the engine. The original 401 Nailhead Wildcat engine has been professionally rebuilt in 2022, which means it's running like a top. And with a warranty included, you can have peace of mind knowing that this car is ready to hit the road. But the upgrades don't stop there. The transmission was also professionally rebuilt in 2021, and it comes with a warranty as well. And with new dual exhaust, a new gas tank, and a new fuel line, you can be sure that this LeSabre is running smoothly and efficiently. The exterior of the car has been given a fresh coat of custom paint, which looks absolutely stunning. And with new tires and a new drive shaft, this car is ready to cruise in style. Inside, the interior does need a bit of TLC, but that's to be expected with a car of this age. The good news is that the hard work has already been done under the hood, so you can focus on making the interior as comfortable and stylish as you like. Now, I know what you might be thinking. The odometer is broken, so how do we know how many miles are on this car? While it's true that we don't have an exact number, the fact that this LeSabre has undergone such a thorough restoration means that it's basically like a new car. And with only 3 owners in its history, you can be sure that it's been well cared for over the years. As for the price, $6,000 might seem like a lot for a car from the 60s. But when you consider all the work that's gone into this restoration, it starts to look like a pretty good deal. This is a car that's built to last, and with proper care and maintenance, it could easily become a family heirloom. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this LeSabre looks like it's in excellent condition. 15. I've got a real treat for you. A 1984 Chrysler E-Class that's been lovingly maintained and kept in great condition by its previous owner, who just so happens to be someone's sweet granny. First off, let's talk about the mileage. With just under 60,000 original miles on the odometer, this car has been driven sparingly over the years. That means less wear and tear on the engine, transmission, and other important components. And speaking of the engine, this E-Class is powered by a reliable 4-cylinder motor that's paired with an automatic transmission. It's a front-wheel drive car, which means it's easy to handle and maneuver in all kinds of driving conditions. But the real selling point of this car is the way it's been cared for over the years. Granny kept it in a garage, which means it's been protected from the elements and hasn't suffered from the kind of rust and corrosion that can plague older cars. And with regular maintenance and upkeep, this E-Class is running like a top. In fact, the seller mentions that the car has recently gotten some important upgrades, including new tires, a new battery, a new fuel pump, and a new water pump. That means you can drive away with confidence, knowing that this car has been well maintained and is ready to hit the road. As for the exterior, the white paint job looks clean and crisp in the photos provided. And while there may be some minor imperfections that come with age, overall this car looks to be in good condition. Inside, the interior is likely just as well maintained as the rest of the car. After all, Granny probably took great pride in keeping her car clean and tidy over the years. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $3,000 is a lot of money for a car that's almost 40 years old. But hear me out. This E-Class is a piece of automotive history, a reminder of a time when cars were built to last and were cared for with love and attention. And with such low mileage and recent upgrades, it's a car that could easily last for many more years to come. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this E-Class looks like it's in good condition and could be a great choice for someone who appreciates classic cars and wants a reliable daily driver. 16. I've got a real project car for you. A 1965 Ford Galaxie 500 convertible that's been sitting for 15 years, but is now back up and running. Now, I've got to be honest with you. This car is a bit of a running rust bucket, as the seller so aptly puts it. It's going to need a lot of TLC to get it back to its former glory. But if you're the kind of person who loves a good challenge and has a passion for classic cars, this could be the perfect project for you. Let's start with the good news. The seller has just gotten the car running again after replacing the carburetor, distributor, wires, plugs, and coil. That means the engine is turning over and the car is drivable. And according to the seller, the engine sounds strong and the transmission shifts smoothly, which is a great sign. But now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the rust. This car has been sitting for a long time, and it's likely that there's a fair amount of rust and corrosion throughout the body and undercarriage. It's going to take some serious elbow grease and maybe even some welding to get this car back to a solid state. The good news is that the seller is including a new top with the car, which is a nice bonus. And with a clean title and just 95,000 miles on the odometer, this Galaxie 500 has a lot of potential. As for the price, $4,150 might seem a bit steep for a car in this condition. But when you consider the rarity of a 1965 Galaxie 500 convertible and the fact that it's running and drivable, it starts to look like a more reasonable asking price. Of course, the seller is open to offers, so there may be some wiggle room there. Now, I want to be clear. This car is not for everyone. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of money to get it back to its former glory. But if you're the kind of person who loves a good project and has a passion for classic American muscle cars, this could be the opportunity you've been waiting for. Of course, as with any used car purchase, I always recommend getting a thorough inspection before handing over any money. And in this case, I definitely recommend bringing along a knowledgeable friend or mechanic to help you assess the extent of the rust and other issues. So if you're interested, give the seller a call. No texts or emails, please. And schedule a time to come check it out in person. Who knows, you might just fall in love with this classic American beauty and be inspired to bring it back to its former glory. 17. We've got a real gem to talk about. A 1980 Dodge D50 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A 1980 pickup truck? That thing must be a rust bucket. But hold your horses, because this D50 is far from your average old workhorse. First off, let's talk about the price. The seller is asking for $12,500, which might seem steep for a 40-year-old truck. But when you dig into the details, you'll see that this D50 is worth every penny. The seller claims it's in excellent condition, and from what I can tell, they're not just blowing smoke. This truck has had only 2 owners, and the original owner was a rancher who treated it like his baby. He only used it for fishing trips up Mount Lemmon, putting a mere 1,000 miles on it each year. That means this D50 has just over 42,000 original miles on its Japanese Mitsubishi engine. And get this, the seller met a guy with the same engine who's rolled over 450,000 miles without any issues. That's a testament to how well maintained this truck has been. The interior is also in fantastic shape, with only a small crack in the dash and a few tears in the driver's seat. The original owner even installed a custom shag carpet camping setup in the back, complete with storage compartments. It's like a time capsule from the 80s. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical about the seller's claims, but from what I can see, they seem to be sincere. They've put a ton of work into this truck, including upgrading the AC system, installing new brakes and struts, and even putting in a high-performance radiator. This D50 has been well cared for, and it shows. The seller even mentions that they love this truck like their own child, but they need something bigger for their family. They're open to Van Plus cash trades and reasonable cash offers, so if you're in the market for a unique and well-maintained classic pickup, this could be your chance. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection before handing over any cash. But based on what I can see from the ad, this 1980 Dodge D50 seems like a rare find. If you're looking for a reliable and stylish vintage truck, this one might just be worth the investment. 18. We've got a real treat for you. A 1981 Chrysler Imperial that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $200. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A 40-year-old Chrysler? That thing must be a real clunker. But before you write this one off, let's take a closer look at what makes this Imperial a hidden gem. First off, let's talk about the specs. This Imperial is powered by a 318 V8 engine, which is paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission. It's got front disc brakes and rear drum brakes as well as power steering, so it should be a breeze to drive. The interior is decked out in cloth, and there's even a moonroof for those warm summer nights. Now, I know the seller mentions that the car is in good condition, but let's be real. This is a 40-year-old car we're talking about. There are bound to be some issues, and the seller is upfront about them. The AC doesn't currently work, and the headlight doors don't close all the way unless you use the manual knob. But hey, those are relatively minor issues in the grand scheme of things. What really sets this Imperial apart is its history. The seller mentions that the car has been garaged for the last 35 years, which is a huge plus. It's also had some major work done, including a new timing chain, gears, water pump, fan clutch, and steering gearbox, all at around 100,000 miles. That shows that the previous owner was willing to invest in keeping this car running smoothly. Of course, with any used car purchase, there are always going to be some risks involved. It's important to get a thorough inspection done before handing over any cash, just to make sure there aren't any major issues lurking beneath the surface. But based on what the seller has shared, this Imperial seems like it could be a real diamond in the rough. At just $1,200, this car is an absolute steal. Sure, it might need a little TLC to get it back to its former glory, but that's part of the fun of owning a classic car. And with its unique styling and powerful V8 engine, this Imperial is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. 19. We've got a real treat for you. A 1985 Cadillac Seville that's up for sale on Craigslist for $3,850. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. A Cadillac from the 80s? That thing must be a boat. But trust me when I say that this Seville is no ordinary caddy. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as excellent, and based on the details they provided, I'm inclined to believe them. This Seville has been properly maintained throughout its life, and it shows. The engine runs perfectly, thanks in part to a new crate motor from Mark Christopher Cadillac. That's right, this isn't just some old, worn-out engine. It's a fresh, powerful unit that's ready to hit the road. But upgrades don't stop there. The seller has also fitted the car with new tires, a new battery, a new windshield, and even a new headliner. These are all signs of an owner who truly cares about their vehicle and wants to keep it in top shape. And let's not forget about those optional Vogue wire wheels. They give this Seville a real touch of class and style. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical about buying a car that's almost 40 years old, but with just 77,335 miles on the odometer, this Seville is practically a youngster in the world of classic cars. And with a clean title and a silver paint job that's sure to turn heads, it's a car that you can be proud to own and drive. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection before handing over any cash, but based on what the seller has shared, this Seville seems like it's in fantastic shape. And at just $3,150, it's a bargain compared to what you might pay for a newer luxury car with similar features. So if you're in the market for a classic Cadillac that's been well maintained and upgraded with modern touches, this 1985 Seville might just be the car for you. It's got style, power, and a price tag that won't break the bank. And with its excellent condition and low mileage, it's a car that you can enjoy for years to come. 20. We've got a classic beauty for you. A 1976 Chevrolet El Camino that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $6,500. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. A 76 El Camino? That thing must be a rust bucket. But hold your horses because this Chevy is far from a clunker. First off, let's talk about the specs. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 V8 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. That means plenty of power and smooth shifting, which is exactly what you want in a classic ride like this. The seller also mentions that the car has power steering and power brakes, which is a big plus for a vehicle of this age. Now, I know the ad doesn't go into a ton of detail about the condition of the car, but the seller does say that it runs and drives great. That's a good sign, and it suggests that this El Camino has been well maintained over the years. Of course, with 124,000 miles on the odometer, it's not exactly a low-mileage vehicle, but for a car that's almost 50 years old, that's not unexpected. One thing that really stands out to me about this El Camino is the fact that it has a clean title and current registration. That's a big deal for a classic car like this, because it means you won't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get it on the road. And with a price tag of just $6,500, it's a bargain compared to what you might pay for a similar vehicle at a classic car auction. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection before handing over any cash. There could be hidden issues that the seller hasn't mentioned, and you'll want to know about those before you make a decision. But based on what we can see in the ad, this El Camino seems like it's in solid shape. So if you're in the market for a classic Chevy that's got plenty of style and power, this 1976 El Camino might just be the ride for you. It's got a clean title, a strong engine, and a price tag that won't break the bank. And with its iconic look and spacious bed, it's a vehicle that you can use for both work and play.